My recipe for cherry pie filling might be a bit different from what you're used to because it's based on part of another recipe from a famous Argentine chef. However, it's absolutely delicious, so you'll want to give this a try. Learning how to make cherry pie filling with frozen cherries is really easy, so let's get started. First of all, the cherries. You can use either sweet or sour cherries. You have to adjust the recipe. I'll go over that. But I'm using sour cherries, just like in my cherry pie video that I did a little while ago. I'm using one 12-ounce bag of frozen sour cherries, 340 grams, about a cup and a half if I'm not mistaken, and they are completely thawed now. In this pot, I have 170 grams of water, which is a little over 3/4 of a cup. Honestly, if you use 3/4 of a cup of water, I think it will be fine. Like I said, you can use either sour cherries or sweet cherries in this cherry pie filling recipe, so the sugar has to be adjusted accordingly. For the sour cherries, I recommend 1 cup or 210 grams of sugar as I measure it. If you're using sweet cherries, I recommend 170 grams of sugar, which is a little over 3/4 of a cup. You could adjust it up or down either way, but honestly, I think the sour cherries are going to need a little bit more sugar. Also, I'm using 3.5 tablespoons or 35 grams of cornstarch, along with an extra half a cup or 120 grams of water. I use that to make a slurry, 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, and half a teaspoon of almond extract. Like I said, this is a really easy recipe. The first thing you do is you just simply pour the sugar into the water and stir, and then turn on the heat so that the sugar can dissolve totally and bring this sugar and water mixture to a boil. As you can see, the sugar and water are getting close to boiling. It's only been a few minutes. First I had the heat on high, now it's on low. I'm going to put it on medium, 3 out of 6. Now I'm going to add the cherries. I'm going to add a little bit at a time because I do not want the sugar water to splash up. Like I said, this recipe is based on the recipe from an Argentine chef, Ariel Palacios, and he has multiple recipes for a black forest cherry cake, in Argentine Spanish, selva negra, and one of his versions involves making a cherry filling, and I use his recipe and change it up a bit if I'm not mistaken, and I think this works. I think you'll really like it. So like I said, the water and sugar are now boiling. I almost forgot the salt. You can add the salt now, later. Honestly, I don't think it really matters. I am going to start adding my cherries. And you can add the juice too, but like I said, I just don't want to be splashed, at least at first, by the hot liquid. There we go. Gotta put that off to the side. Stir just to combine. And now I'm going to wait until these come to a boil again. While I'm waiting for that to happen, I'm going to make the slurry. I'm first going to put my half cup of water into this container just to get the little bit of juice out of here. And now I'm going to put my half cup of water into my cornstarch to make the cornstarch slurry. Even though I do have liquid in there, I'm not going to add the cornstarch directly to the hot liquid because cornstarch does not like to be added to hot liquid. It needs to mix with a cold liquid, because if you just add cornstarch to that, it's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a quilombo, as the Argentines would say, a big mess. You have to add your cornstarch to cold water off to the side first. So once this comes back to a boil, I will be adding my cornstarch slurry. My cherries are boiling again. I actually turned the heat up to 4 out of 6, so medium high. You can see it's at a full boil. I stirred maybe once every 30 seconds. Now I'm going to add my cornstarch slurry. Once the cornstarch is added to the cherries, continue stirring constantly for about 30 seconds with the heat still on medium-high, gas mark 4 out of 6. In about 30 seconds, the cherry pie filling will start to thicken. Once it starts to thicken, turn off the heat, but keep stirring. Even though I'm not stirring here because I want you to see when it starts to boil again, I think it's a better idea to just keep stirring after you add the cornstarch. Like I said, it will thicken very quickly, just 30 seconds. If you've never made a cherry pie filling recipe before, I'll point out in this video once it starts to thicken. And right about here, it starts to thicken. That was fast. So like I said earlier, you want to bring the cherries to a boil again, add your cornstarch slurry, and then once it looks like the cherry pie filling is starting to thicken, maybe 30 seconds, if that, then turn off the heat and keep stirring. It's been maybe a minute or two now, and as you can see, it's thickened up a little bit more. And now that my cherries are off the heat, I'm going to add my half teaspoon of almond extract. You want to add the extract after you turn off the heat because just like with vanilla extract, heat will cause the alcohol and the extract to evaporate and it's going to lose most of its flavor. It's been about an hour and 20 minutes since I turned off the heat, and as you can see, my cherry pie filling is ready. It's nice and thick. It has gelled very nicely from the cornstarch. What I like about this is that, as you can see, after I stirred with the cornstarch and it cooled down, the cornstarch completely dissolved into the liquid, so it's not cloudy at all, number one. And number two, the cherries are whole. Some cherry pie filling recipes have cherries that break down a bit. Some of these did, but most of them are whole. And I think that's really good for presentation. If you're going to put this on a cake or use as a filling or something, it's just a really nice presentation if the cherries are still whole. You could put this in the refrigerator, and I think it'd be good for like a week. But I am going to put this on my no-bake cream cheese pie. This video recipe will probably be called no-bake cheesecake with condensed milk. It's a no-bake cream cheese pie that's popular in the South. It's a type of icebox pie that you put in the refrigerator to solidify. And one popular variation is cherry cream cheese pie. So I'm going to take this now almost completely cooled cherry pie filling, and I'm just going to put it over my pie. Honestly, this recipe for cherry pie filling was amazing. First of all, the taste. Honestly, I think that this was the perfect amount of sugar for frozen sour cherries. There was a very nice sweet and tart contrast, and the touch of almond extract was very, very nice. I really like the color as well. No need to add any unnatural food coloring. It was a very bright and vibrant red. Very eye-catching. And like I said earlier, I liked that most of the cherries stayed whole. I think for a presentation on top of a cream cheese pie, a cheesecake, or something like that, it's really nice, really beautiful to have whole cherries. However, my one criticism of this recipe is that there was a lot of jelly juice. Maybe I could have used a little bit less water, but honestly, then maybe I would have to adjust the amount of sugar. I'm not sure exactly. I really like the taste, So I'm probably not going to adjust the recipe. I think that you could do what I'm doing now, skimming out the cherries if you want more of the fruit and less of the syrup. Although you could use this as filling for a pie, honestly, I think it's a bit too runny. You're better off following my recipe for cherry pie. If you want a recipe for cherry pie filling, make sure you try this one. Since it uses frozen cherries, you can make this at any time of the year. I know you will love it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.